Welcome everybody, I'm Santiago Nieland and this is The Divine Within, the invisible connection with God. Today we're going to talk about revelations. We're diving into one of the boldest ideas in spiritual history. Revelation is a living process, not a one-time miracle, but a progressive unfolding of truth across human history. From ancient teachers to Jesus himself and into modern cosmic revelation, we'll explore how divine truth has been revealing in stages, meeting humanity where we are, and nudging us towards where we're going. We're joined by Derek Grimm, media creator, lifelong student of the Urantia book, and founder of the Urantia TLDR. Derek's work blends spiritual depth with modern storytelling, translating big cosmic ideas into accessible media for a new generation. So welcome, Derek. It's a pleasure having you here.
Absolutely. My pleasure to be here with you. Very excited.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So let's dive in because there's a lot to talk about. And
Sure
let's
is.
start first on what are the Epochal Revelations. So what if human history isn't random, but guided by waves of spiritual insight? In this segment, we'll explore the Epochal Revelations, 5 major moments when higher truth entered the world to expand humanity's understanding of God, the universe, and our place within it. From ancient teachers to Jesus of Nazareth, these revelations weren't about starting religions. They were about raising consciousness one era at a time. So, Derek, can you run us on what are these revelations? I mean, we've heard about revealed religion and evolved religion. So, what's about this topic, which really intrigues me?
Well, I think one of the first things that we have to come to terms with is the idea that civilization on the inhabited worlds, on planets, and not just ours, every planet that's inhabited throughout the whole universe of universes, is meant to be a co-creative effort between divinity and humanity. It's
Okay.
co-creative. And we see that in a lot of these things still survive in our myths and legends. Things went a little bit wrong here. But that's the plan. There is a plan to reveal religion to us as well as for our understanding of God and religion to evolve. And that's the basis for these bestowals on all of the planets.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, now that we're diving into this concept that you're telling me about co-creating relationship, which is something that I like. I mean, a lot of people are saying, I mean, we're just an accident. We're just, floating in this rock throughout the universe, and there's nothing else in this vast universe but just this speck of intelligent life that we are. But really, once we start peeling and diving into not only today, but throughout history, like you said, I mean, different instances throughout time, we see that, it's a progressive, and that's something that I like about what revealed religion is. It's a progressive, and it all depends on the epoch and the times that we are. Of course,
Right.
I mean, now with the knowledge that we have nowadays, we probably couldn't have had the same information revealed to us thousands of years ago. But nowadays, I mean, based on what we have this. But can you tell us a little bit about this co-creative relationship?
Well, I guess it really begins when we as humans achieve a certain um, level of being human. So I guess where it all starts is once we become human, and what it is to be human means that we have um, we're able to worship, and we also
Okay.
have wisdom, and that's something that separates us from our animal cousins, right? And once we achieve this, the ability to connect with spirit, I guess, is another way to say this, and for spirit to connect with us. Um, that's kind of the signal for these bestowals to start happening. And the first bestowal that happens is, like I said, it's the beginning of this co-creative effort between divinity and humanity. And so I don't know how to say this simply, but the universe administration
Mm-hmm.
gives us an administration. And they come to the planet and they settle in, and they, as the legends say, they gift humanity with civilization. They sit down and they teach us how to live. They give us the art of civilization,
Mm-hmm.
and they start moving us on that path of progressing ever so slowly along with our ability at the time. And that's how civilization starts to grow, is co-creative. They are here to help us physically and
And
mentally
that's
and spiritually. Yeah,
And that's really interesting because I think that in every human civilization, and doesn't matter which continent, we always see and hear these stories about these, magical beings, these giants. And suddenly there was maybe something went wrong, and we're going to be talking about this. But tell us about this first revelation. Let's say the first revelation that came to us, like you said, with these administrative officials from heaven, or
right.
not heaven, but from other worlds that came down and started teaching us all of this.
That's right. And that's the key terminology that we get from especially the Sumerian records and legends. Um,
Yeah.
Civilization was bestowed on us by heaven, basically. They came down to give us the civilization. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about a massive spiritual administration, which those of us who were alive at that time could not see. But there's also a component of that administration which we could see, and that's where all of these legends come from. There was actually 100. Well, let's just do it simply. There's 200,
Mm-hmm.
and they basically split up into different departments, if you want to call it
Okay.
that. Different parts of civilization. There was government, there was agriculture, there's metalworking, there's cleanliness, and there was how to deal with wild animals. There was all of these initial parts of civilization that they split into groups to teach us. And they built this huge city, well, huge at the time,
Yeah.
and they set up shop and they started attracting people from neighboring tribes, and they would come to the city and they would learn, and then they would take what they'd learned back to their own tribes and implement them, and that's how the civilization would slowly grow and spread.
Uh,
And
th-
so when you look at the mythology, you've got these, like even something more recent, like the Greek pantheon of gods, right? You've got
yeah.
the god of the sun, you've got god of war, god of wisdom. Um, that's kind of where all that comes from, right?
Yeah. That
It's
that's really interesting. And I mean, like you said, and many times we think of or we see ourselves like we found out how to do things, but really a lot of it was taught. A lot of it we inherited, and these blueprints that came, how I don't remember the time, but really, really ages ago. But we have these blueprints throughout the world, and like you're saying, comparing with the Greek gods, and those were the remnants of, let's say, history that came from these stories, these times, these ancient times, right?
yeah, they're memories of those um, physical beings that came here to bestow civilization on us.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah,
And I know, I mean, and this is something that is mentioned in the Urantia book. This was headed by a prince, a planetary prince. So there was a head of state, let's say,
yeah,
quote
yeah,
unquote,
yeah.
that came here, and he was tasked with the revelation, with this first epochal revelation. But I wanted to get to, I mean, it was all going to plan, but then suddenly something happened. What is it that happened that kind of set us astray in that sense?
Yeah. So, first of all, I think it's important to get some idea of the timeframes involved here. So,
Yeah,
when they first arrived here, approximately 500,000 years ago, which is a long time.
half a million years ago. So
Yeah.
let's put that into context. Yeah,
Yes. Okay. So we're talking basically what we're saying is there is a lot of human history that has been forgotten. And part of what the Urantia book gifts us back is that heritage, which
yeah,
is really profound and amazing. This went along really well according to schedule and according to what was supposed to be happening. for 300,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lucifer, who we all know that name,
Yeah.
decided that he was going to rebel against the government and administration of God.
Okay.
And our planetary administrator, his name was Caligastia,
Mm-hmm.
decided he was going to, before it even broke out, he decided he was going to betray our planet to this rebellion.
Okay.
And that's what happened. So when the rebellion broke out, approximately 200,000 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
our planet was betrayed to this rebellion, and the result of that was we were cut off. We were severed from the circuits that connected individual worlds together. We're isolated and quarantined until such time as the whole thing is resolved, and it isn't
And
yet. So,
yeah, and this is interesting because we see all this play out. Not and what I like about this is that in a lot of traditional religions we see that God and Satan, Lucifer, the devil have equal stance. But what really the Urantia book teaches us is that they are not. These are administrators that rebelled. It's more of how we see rebellion in human history, where you have this like a coup d'état. Let's say that way. We had
yeah,
these rebels that wanted to
yeah,
overpower, and one of their major or the Lucifer Manifesto stated that there is no God and that we are free to do whatever we want. Which ding 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 ding. Nowadays we see these false liberties where we say, oh, no, truth is relative, and you can do whatever you want. And that's part of what happened that time ago. It was
yeah,
really setting us off stray or off course, and everything that we see, and even in these myths and all these stories, we always hear about this cataclysm. We hear about everything kind of, there was something that happened, and then we had to start all over. So I see that this is what your ancient book points out throughout all the civilizations. What they're talking about is this Lucifer manifesto, this Lucifer rebellion that started all this long ago, that has us still in quarantine and still trying to resolve what's happening.
exactly. Yeah. I think what you were saying in terms of the scope of it, um, as you were saying, we have this idea that good and evil are equal forces contesting with each other all the time, and Earth is the arena of all of that.
Yeah.
And that's just not how it is. I mean, it would be, in comparison, we're talking about the whole solar system is God, just, to
Yeah.
keep it sort of small and comparable,
To scale, let's
and
say.
to scale, yeah. And what Lucifer did and his scope would be more like a neighborhood in a small town compared
Okay.
to the solar system. That's kind of
Okay.
what
Yeah.
we're talking about.
I like that. I
It's
like that example. It's pretty
it's
pretty
it's
graphic.
yeah, in the whole scope of God and the reality of the universe, it's not equal good versus evil. It's just not.
Exactly.
It's yeah,
And that's what I like about Star Wars is that it tells us, there's always the battle between the dark side and the bright side, right? But
right,
the forces, regardless, it encompasses everything. So that's why I
right,
like so much. I mean, Star Wars really gives us that perspective of God, and His rule is above everything, above evil, above the choices that we make, but it's everything is within God. So I like
right.
this, and it gives me a lot of peace to think that it's not that God is trying to defeat the devil. He can't. I mean, the devil cannot get to the stance
It's
of God. He's always.
insignificant. Yeah,
Exactly, exactly.
yeah,
So in the end, you got it's within you. It's in your hands, the choice to do evil or to err. I mean, because we all err. We're fallible. We're
yeah,
imperfect beings, and that's part of the process and how we evolved as humans. But it's in our choice to keep on doing those errors and then sinning and eventually getting to
yeah,
iniquity. Where it's just what happened in the Lucifer rebellion, just going
yeah,
against the will of God, right?
yeah. So I think the other side of that, though, the scale discussion, is that from the cosmological viewpoint, it's insignificant, right?
Yeah.
But we happen to be in that small little neighborhood on the planet in the solar system. So for us, it's like really significant, and it's devastating
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
not be part of our universal family and be able to have these communications and to know to we still, well, though we don't know for certain, scientifically and all that, that the universe is inhabited. I mean, we know it is, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
we just
there's not a smoking gun or
there's
the
yeah,
evidence, the fossil there
yeah,
that you can say, okay, it is.
concrete proof, right? So there's
Exactly,
there's
exactly.
still that unknowing sort of ness of it all, and this idea
Yeah,
of being alone, and it's tough. It's tough
it
going it
is.
alone, even personally, as a group going it alone, or even as a planet going it alone. It's a tough thing. And
Definitely.
yeah, so that's what we're going through right now. But I also think we have to understand that even though we are quarantined, um, we're not abandoned.
Exactly.
They're trying to work with us and help us as best they can under the circumstances until things are resolved. So we're not
Exactly.
alone.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
let's, following these revelations, these epochal revelations,
Yeah.
we just talked about the first one, which is that was presented when the prince came to this planet. Then we have a part, or there's, which I really like and really kind of settles the issue about were we born out of Adam and Eve, or were we evolved from chimpanzees, from apes? But like you're saying, we started out, and then the human, as designed in this planet, got to its stage that it became spiritually, like you said, wisdom and worship came into being, and that differentiated us from the rest of the animals. And we started to have this spiritual receptivity and started to communicate spiritually with all these forces. But it gets to a point where we have what we call the material uplifters, the material sons and daughters, which are Adam and Eve, and they come to uplift and bring more of these genes, more of this cosmic blueprint that we have in order to have a more spiritual connection with other spiritual beings, including God. So tell us a little bit about the second revelation, which was Adam and Eve.
Yeah. So they would be the second of the bestowals of divine help, and co-creative assistance in our evolutionary progress, right? So they have a couple of missions. One is that they're to continue on from what the original planetary administration has accomplished to that point, and that
Mm-hmm.
the planetary administration, they don't leave or anything. They continue on. This is just blowing up the balloon bigger to
Kind
encompass
of
more, right?
compounds. It's
Right,
the second level, third
right.
level. Yeah,
Additional, right?
yeah.
Yeah. But as you said, another one of their main functions is to biologically uplift humanity.
Okay.
And the way that's done is basically over a long, long period of time, like probably like 25, 30,000 years. Um, their job is to skillfully and strategically inject their DNA into the human gene pool.
Okay.
I think that's the most succinct way to say that without getting into the reeds. Um, so their genetics are, I hesitate to say alien, but they're not completely, they're divine. They're
Yeah.
divine genetics. That's the best way to say it. And there's certain things within those genetics that will uplift the human gene pool. And the plan, on our planet
Mm-hmm.
was, well, one of some of the benefits of that is it makes us a lot more resistant to disease. Um, it usually generates towards the end of the 20, 30,000 years. There's usually a huge renaissance of music and spirituality and science and exploration. It's like the
All these
golden age. Oh,
higher
this,
things
yeah,
tools and attributes that we can use, right?
that's right. And that's only just happened here. So Adam and Eve actually came here about 30, let's just say 38,000 years ago. So, things are pretty behind. But that's generally what the effect of having their genes injected into our gene pool to uplift it all. There's enormous benefit, and there's an enormous spiritual benefit as well. It really expands our spiritual capacities and everything too.
Yeah, I
So
like that.
that's what they came for. Yeah.
It's like they bring the connectors. Let's say that we were in the, I think of computers. You had the typical, from the 60s, 70s connections, and now we have these Wi-Fi connections, and it's kind
Yeah.
of getting that Wi-Fi into our genes and into our existence, and to be able to communicate with the divine within, with that fragment of God inside of us, and with all the different spiritual agencies around us.
It's kind of like supercharging everything, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I think we're gonna. I mean, the story of Adam and Eve is really interesting, and I don't want. I mean, we can do a whole podcast, and maybe that's what we're gonna do. Talk about Adam and Eve in a special episode, because the default of Adam and Eve is really interesting, and there's a lot of I
It's
always see the
heartbreaking.
the mythical archetypes that really
Yeah.
kind of tell us a little bit of what happened. Because when I was a kid, I never really thought it's really because they ate this apple. There's a lot of stories in there. There's more drama than we can imagine in that story. So let's leave that for later. And what
Okay.
we're going to do now is we're gonna end this segment right here. And in the
Sure.
next segment, we're going to be talking about the latter revelations that came, which are really interesting, and that kind of set
Oh
the
yeah.
basis of our modern religions, or the Judeo-Christian religions. So stay
Yeah.
tuned for the next episode.
Can't wait.
On the Divine Within podcast, we'll share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.